The descent into the unknown. The cold, sterile air inside the spacecraft hung thick with anticipation, the faint hum of the engines creating a constant, unyielding backdrop. Mira, a displaced alien mother with skin as green as a vibrant forest, sat cradling her daughter Mary in her arms. The young girl, with soft curls of dark hair, was curled into a tight ball, her face serene and untroubled by the chaos that had uprooted their lives. Mira's heart swelled with a fierce, protective love, yet it was tainted with the heavy grief of their recent past. As the ship continued its relentless journey through the cosmos, Mira glanced out of the small, scratched window. Streaks of brilliant starlight dashed by, shimmering like distant promises in the void. The universe was vast and indifferent, and she felt both infinitesimal and utterly alone. Just days before, they had fled their home planet, a once thriving world now reduced to nothing but ash and ruins. The memories haunted her, the laughter of friends, the warm sun shining on lush landscapes, and the vibrant markets filled with the aroma of exotic foods. All of it was gone, swallowed by the relentless advance of the imperial invaders. Mira gently brushed a strand of hair away from Muri's forehead, her fingers trembling. The chaos of their escape was a blur, filled with the screams of panic and the acrid smell of smoke as their cities crumbled under attack. The moment they had boarded this small freighter with a group of fellow survivors, Mira had vowed to protect her daughter at all costs. Their new reality was harsh, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon her. The other women in the cramped cabin were silent, each lost in her own thoughts. They were all refugees, fleeing from the same nightmare, yet Mira felt a sense of isolation among them. Their expressions were a mix of fear, sorrow, and hope, a delicate balance that could tip at any moment. It was this unspoken bond of shared trauma that tied them together, yet she could sense the varying degrees of despair and the uncertainty of their future. Would they find safety? Would they be able to rebuild their lives on this new, uncharted planet? As the ship began its descent toward Earth, Mira's heart raced with conflicting emotions. They had heard whispers about this distant world, a place inhabited by humans. The tales she had gleaned from other refugees were filled with both wonder and dread. Would the humans welcome them, or would they see them as a threat? Mira's mind whirled with possibilities, each more daunting than the last. Mira felt a jolt as the ship touched down, its landing gear crunching against the foreign soil. She held her breath, listening to the captain's voice crackle over the intercom, announcing their arrival in a remote area away from human civilization. Relief washed over her, but it was laced with apprehension. They had landed, but what lay ahead? The ship's doors hissed open, releasing a gust of cool air that filled the cabin with the scent of damp earth and lush greenery. Mira stood, gathering Mary in her arms, heart pounding as the other women began to disembark. The forest surrounding them was dense and alive, a stark contrast to the ruins they had left behind. The vibrant colors of the vegetation were almost overwhelming, yet the beauty was marred by the worry that clung to her like a shadow. As they stepped out of the ship, Mira took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill her lungs. It was peaceful here, a deceptive calm that masked the turmoil within her. They had escaped one danger, but now they were in an unfamiliar world, and she could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. The group quickly set to work, establishing a temporary camp in the thick woods, hidden from prying human eyes. The fear of discovery loomed over them. They couldn't risk being found too soon, not until they had a solid plan. Food and supplies would be crucial, and someone would have to venture out to find them. Mira felt a surge of determination. She couldn't sit idle while Mary depended on her. Gathering her resolve, she volunteered to scout for supplies, her heart pounding in her chest as she prepared to step beyond the safety of the camp. With Mary clutching her hand, Mira navigated through the trees, her senses heightened. Every sound in the forest felt like a potential threat, but she pressed on, knowing they had no other choice. As they neared the forest's edge, Mira caught sight of something in the distance, a small town nestled in the valley below. Modest houses with warm lights glowed against the twilight, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Mira moved cautiously, keeping to the shadows as they approached the outskirts of the town. Her heart raced as they reached the main road, and then a figure emerged. A tall man with broad shoulders, walking toward them with a relaxed stride. Mira froze, her breath catching in her throat. This was her first encounter with a human, and her green skin was a glaring contrast to his pale complexion. Instinctively, she pulled Miri close, anxiety surging through her. The man noticed them immediately, his eyes widening in surprise as he took in the sight of Mira and Miri. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, a chasm of misunderstanding and fear stretching between them. Then, to Mira's astonishment, the man smiled, a warm, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Hello there," he called out, his voice calm and friendly. "Are you lost?" Mira hesitated, unsure how to respond. She had anticipated hostility, suspicion, anything but kindness. Slowly, she stepped forward, keeping her daughter protectively by her side. "We're new here," Mira said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Mira, and this is my daughter, Miri. We're looking for safety." The man's expression softened further as he stepped closer. "I'm Michael," he replied. "You don't look like you're from around here, but don't worry, you're safe. This is a peaceful town." Mira blinked, the tension in her shoulders easing slightly at his reassuring words. "Thank you," she murmured, her heart pounding with a mix of relief and trepidation. They had traveled so far, and now this stranger was offering them hope. Michael nodded, his gaze understanding. "It's okay, I can help you." "Come on, let's get you two out of the cold." Mira hesitated for only a moment, feeling a flicker of hope rise within her. There was something about Michael's demeanor that put her at ease, and she couldn't ignore the warmth of his invitation. As they walked toward the town, Mira felt a cautious glimmer of optimism. Perhaps, after all they had been through, this could be the beginning of something new. As they entered the cozy house on the edge of town, the warmth from the fireplace enveloped them, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Mira allowed herself to breathe deeply. Mary settled onto the couch, her eyelids growing heavy with sleep, while Mira sat nearby, her mind racing with the possibilities of what this new world could offer. Michael brought her a cup of tea, his expression kind and patient. "You don't have to tell me everything now," he said gently, "but whenever you're ready, I'd like to help." Mira looked at him, her heart full of gratitude. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, they had found a place where they could belong. The first steps towards a new life. Morning light filtered softly through the thin curtains of Michael's cozy home, casting gentle shadows across the worn furniture. Mira blinked awake, momentarily disoriented. For a fleeting second, she imagined she was back on her home planet, the familiar surroundings wrapping her in a cocoon of safety. But as her hand grazed the blanket, a stark reminder of her new reality, the cold truth set in. They were far from home, and everything familiar had been torn away. Mira turned her head and looked at Miri, who was still asleep on the couch, nestled under a warm blanket that Michael had generously provided. Her heart swelled with love and protectiveness as she watched her daughter's peaceful face. It was a stark contrast to the chaos of their recent past, where every moment had been a fight for survival. Just a day ago, they had landed in this new world, and now they were in the home of a stranger, hoping against hope that they could find some semblance of safety here. The sound of quiet footsteps drew Mira's attention, and she saw Michael bustling around the small kitchen area. The aroma of cooking food wafted through the air, a comforting smell that made her stomach rumble. She sat up slowly, still wrapped in the blanket, letting the warmth seep into her bones. The memories of the previous day rushed back, the ship, the forest, the town, and the kind man who had offered them refuge. "Good morning," Michael said, his voice bright as he turned to her with a smile. "I didn't want to wake you. I thought you and Miri could use some rest." "Thank you," Mira replied quietly, her voice still thick with sleep. "I'm grateful for your kindness." Michael set down a plate of steaming food on the small dining table and motioned for her to join him. I figured you both might be hungry after your journey. As they sat down together, Mera took a moment to observe her surroundings. The walls were adorned with simple decorations, photographs of landscapes and people, many of whom she assumed were Michael's family or friends. Mera hesitated as she looked at the food. She was still processing the fact that she was sitting at a table in a human home, eating food that was not only safe but prepared with care. The fresh bread and cooked vegetables were a feast compared to the rations they had subsisted on during their escape. "Where are you from, Mera?" Michael asked as he took a bite of his own food, his expression friendly and inviting. She paused, her heart heavy with the memories of her past. I'm from a planet called Selene. It was a beautiful place until the invaders came." Michael's expression shifted to one of understanding and concern. "I'm sorry to hear that. It must have been terrible to leave everything behind." Mera nodded, her throat tightening. "I had to protect Miri. She is all I have left." The admission felt like a weightlifting, but it was quickly replaced by the anxiety of what lay ahead. "I understand," Michael said gently. "You've been through so much, but you're safe here. The people in this town are mostly good, and I'm sure they'll be understanding once they get to know you." His words offered a small comfort, yet doubts flickered in Mera's mind. Would they really accept her and her daughter? What would they think of her green skin and alien features? Michael seemed genuine, but how could she be sure that others would feel the same? After breakfast, Miri began to stir, her small body stretching under the blanket. Mera smiled as she watched her daughter wake up. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said softly, moving closer to her. "Mama, where are we?" Miri asked, rubbing her eyes. "We're safe, my love," Mera replied, brushing a hand through her daughter's hair. "We're with a friend, Michael." Miri glanced around, taking in the new surroundings with wide eyes. "Can we go outside?" Mera exchanged a glance with Michael, who nodded encouragingly. "Absolutely. I can show you both around the town. It's beautiful out there." With a mix of excitement and apprehension, Mera took Miri's hand, and they followed Michael outside. The sun was shining brightly, casting a warm glow over the small town. The streets were lined with quaint houses, their gardens bursting with colorful flowers. Mera marveled at the vibrancy of it all. As they walked, Michael pointed out various landmarks: a bakery with a scent of fresh bread wafting through the air, a small park filled with children playing, and a community center buzzing with activity. Mera couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. This world was so different from the war-torn landscape she had left behind. But with each step, her anxiety grew. What would happen when they encountered other townspeople? Would they stare? Would they reject them outright? "Don't worry," Michael reassured her, noticing her unease. "Everyone here is friendly, just be yourselves." They reached the park, where children laughed and played, their carefree joy a sharp contrast to the struggles Mera had faced. Miri tugged at her hand, eager to join in. "Can I play, Mama?" her daughter asked, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Mera hesitated, glancing at Michael for reassurance. "Is it safe?" she asked quietly. Michael nodded. "Of course, just stay close, and I'll be right here." With a deep breath, Mera knelt down to her daughter's level. "Okay, but remember to stay near me," she said, giving Miri a gentle smile. Miri squealed with delight and ran toward the swings, her laughter ringing out like music. Mera watched her daughter play, a mixture of joy and apprehension swelling in her chest. This was a new life, but it was also precarious. Michael remained close by, watching over them with a watchful eye. He struck up conversations with other townspeople, and Mera couldn't help but notice how they greeted him with warmth and familiarity. Each time someone looked in her direction, Mera's heart raced, anticipating judgment. But to her surprise, they merely waved and smiled, their eyes reflecting kindness rather than fear. As the afternoon wore on, Mera felt the tension in her shoulders begin to ease. Perhaps it was possible to find a semblance of peace here. The children played, laughter ringing in the air, and for a moment, Mira allowed herself to dream of a future where Mary could grow up free from fear and danger. After a while, Michael called them over. "How about we grab some ice cream?" he suggested, pointing to a small ice cream shop across the street. Murray's eyes lit up. "Can we, Mama?" Mira hesitated, but felt a wave of warmth wash over her as she watched her daughter's excitement. "Yes, we can," she replied, her heart swelling with hope. As they entered the shop, the cool air and sweet scents enveloped them. The shopkeeper, a cheerful woman with bright blue hair, greeted them with a smile. "What can I get for you?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with kindness. Mira felt a mixture of uncertainty and relief. We'd like some ice cream, please," she said softly. "Coming right up," the woman exclaimed, scooping generous portions into colorful cones. As they stepped outside, Mira took a moment to savor the simple joy of the experience, her daughter's laughter, the taste of the sweet treat, and the warmth of the sun on her skin. They settled on a bench under the shade of a large tree, enjoying their ice cream as Mary chatted excitedly about the flavors. Mira listened, her heart lightening with each passing moment. Maybe, just maybe, they could carve out a new life in this town. But deep down, Mira knew they could not hide forever. Eventually, they would have to confront the realities of their existence, their differences, the fear of discovery, and the constant need for vigilance. Yet for today, in this moment of tranquility, she allowed herself to hope. Hope for a future where they could belong. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden hue over the town, Mira felt a surge of determination. She would do whatever it took to keep Mary safe and to create a life for them both. With Michael's help, she might just find a way to navigate this new world, one step at a time. And in that resolve, Mira found the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. A glimpse of normalcy days turned into weeks, and as Mira settled into a new routine in the small town, the weight of uncertainty slowly began to lift. With each sunrise, she felt a little more at home, but the specter of their past still lingered in the shadows of her mind. The vibrant colors of the town, the laughter of children, and the warmth of the community felt like a distant dream, yet she cherished every moment, every smile exchanged with those around her. Mira and Miri had developed a daily rhythm. Mira would venture into the town each morning, helping Michael with various tasks, while Miri attended a small school nearby. The school was a quaint building filled with laughter and chatter. Mira watched from a distance as her daughter played with other children, her heart swelling with pride. Miri had made friends, and for a little girl who had seen too much, it was a precious gift. One sunny afternoon, Mira decided to accompany Miri to school. The sun hung high in the sky, and the air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers. As they walked hand in hand, Mira marveled at the beauty of the world around them. The streets were alive with activity. Vendors called out their wares, and the townspeople exchanged greetings. It was a far cry from the silent, desolate landscapes of Selene. When they arrived at the school, Mira stood at the gate, feeling a mix of pride and anxiety. She watched as Miri raced off to join her friends, her laughter ringing like music. Mira felt a smile tugging at her lips, but it quickly faded as she remembered the truth of their situation. Would the other parents accept them? Would they see Muri's bright spirit and her own peculiar features and judge them for it? "Hey there!" A friendly voice broke through her thoughts. Mira turned to see a woman approaching, her hair a warm shade of auburn and her eyes sparkling with kindness. "I'm Sarah, one of the teachers here. I haven't seen you around much. Are you new in town?" Mira hesitated, weighing her words carefully. "Yes, we just moved here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm Mira, and this is my daughter, Mary." Sarah smiled warmly. "It's wonderful to meet you both. Mary is a bright light in our school. She's made quite an impression on her classmates." Mira felt a wave of warmth wash over her. "Thank you. She's been through a lot, but I'm so grateful she has a place to play and learn." As they chatted, Mira found herself relaxing. Sarah's openness was refreshing, and for the first time since their arrival, she felt a flicker of hope that perhaps they could truly belong here. If you ever need help or want to know more about the town, just ask. We're a tight-knit community, and we look out for each other, Sarah offered. Thank you. I appreciate that, Mara replied, a small smile bracing her lips. As the school bell rang, signaling the start of classes, Mira waved goodbye to Mary, who dashed off with her friends, her laughter echoing in the air. Mira watched her daughter disappear into the building, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and worry. Determined to contribute to their new home, Mira began volunteering at the local community center, a place where people gathered for various activities and events. She helped with organizing events and even shared some of her culture with the townsfolk, telling stories of her home planet's customs and traditions. Initially, she felt a sense of hesitation. The thought of revealing her origins was daunting. But to her surprise, the more she shared, the more the community embraced her. People listened intently, their eyes wide with wonder as she described the colorful festivals and the beauty of the landscapes on Selene. Mira found herself forming connections, forging friendships that began to anchor her in this new world. Michael often accompanied her, providing encouragement and support. He was a constant presence, helping to bridge the gap between her past and this new life. Together, they navigated the challenges of acceptance, and slowly but surely, the townspeople began to see Mira as more than just a refugee. They saw her as a friend, a neighbor, a mother. One crisp autumn day, the community center organized a harvest festival, a celebration of the season's bounty. Mira was excited to contribute, deciding to prepare a dish from her home planet. She spent hours in the kitchen, mixing unfamiliar ingredients, hoping to recreate the flavors she had grown up with. As the day of the festival arrived, Mira carried her carefully prepared dish, a colorful salad made from a mix of vegetables native to Selene, along with her newfound friends from the community. The center was buzzing with activity, tables were adorned with decorations, and the aroma of various foods filled the air. Laughter and music mingled together, creating a joyful atmosphere. Mira set up her dish on a long table, surrounded by other offerings from the townsfolk. She watched as people began to sample her creation, their expressions shifting from curiosity to delight. Encouraged by their reactions, she felt a sense of pride swelling within her. Maybe they would embrace her and her heritage after all. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the festival, Mira joined in the festivities. She laughed and danced with her new friends, her worries temporarily forgotten. The weight of her past still lingered, but in moments like these, she felt lighter, as if the burden she carried was slowly beginning to lift. That evening, as the festivities reached their peak, a group of children, including Mary, approached Mira with excitement. "Mama, come and dance with us," Mary called out, her eyes shining with joy. Mira's heart melted at the sight of her daughter, carefree and radiant. She took Mary's hand, joining the circle of children as they twirled and laughed under the twinkling lights strung above them. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of friendship and acceptance, Mira felt a flicker of hope ignite within her, a belief that they could forge a new life here, one filled with love and community. As the festival wound down and the stars began to twinkle overhead, Mira took a moment to reflect on how far they had come. She and Mary had escaped the horrors of their past, and while their journey was far from over, they had found a glimmer of belonging in this new world. The fear of discovery still lurked in the back of her mind, but it was tempered by the realization that they were not alone. With Michael and the community at her side, Mira felt a renewed sense of purpose. She would continue to protect Mary, to nurture their bond, and to embrace the opportunities that lay ahead. They were no longer just survivors, they were building a life, and each day brought new possibilities and new connections. That night, as she tucked Mary into bed, Mira brushed her daughter's hair back from her forehead. "You were wonderful today, my little star," she whispered, kissing her gently. Mary smiled sleepily, her eyes fluttering shut. "Did you see me dancing, Mama? It was so much fun." Mira nodded, her heart swelling with love. Yes, it was. And tomorrow, we will dance again. As she turned off the light and closed the door, Mira felt a sense of hope for the first time in a long while. The shadows of their past still lingered, but she was ready to face whatever lay ahead, one step at a time. Together, they would create a new story, one filled with resilience, friendship, and love. New beginnings and unforeseen challenges. With the arrival of winter, the small town transformed into a picturesque landscape of white. Snow blanketed the ground, and icicles hung from rooftops like delicate crystals. Mira watched as her daughter Mary, delightedly bundled up in layers of clothing, rushed outside to join the other children in a flurry of snowball fights and laughter. The sight of Mary's joy warmed Mira's heart, bringing her a sense of comfort in the cold, crisp air. Yet, as enchanting as the snowy scene was, Mira felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on her. The cold months brought with them a stark reminder of their vulnerability. Though she had found a sense of community and acceptance among the townsfolk, the lingering fear of being discovered still gnawed at her. Every time she saw the local authorities, or even just the general townspeople, her heart raced with anxiety. Would they still welcome her if they knew the truth of her origins? As the days turned into weeks, Mira worked hard to integrate into the community while keeping her true identity a secret. She volunteered at the community center, helping organize winter festivals and gatherings. Michael remained her steadfast ally, frequently checking in on her and ensuring that she felt supported. The friendship between them blossomed into a bond that went beyond mere gratitude. They shared laughter, stories, and hopes for the future. One chilly afternoon, Mira found herself at the community center, helping with preparations for a winter solstice celebration. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement as townsfolk decorated the large hall with shimmering lights and garlands made of pine branches. Mira had never experienced a winter celebration like this before. It was new and exhilarating. As she hung ornaments on a tree, Mira overheard snippets of conversation around her. "I heard there's going to be a talent show," one woman exclaimed. "I can't wait to see what everyone brings." Mira's heart raced. Talent shows were a common tradition back on Selene, where they showcased music, dance, and storytelling. Could she dare to participate? The thought terrified and thrilled her simultaneously. She had not performed in front of others since her world had fallen apart, and the idea of sharing a piece of her culture brought forth a wave of longing. After much contemplation, Mira decided to step out of her comfort zone. Perhaps this was a chance not only to showcase the heritage, but also to further integrate into the community. With Michael's encouragement, she began to practice a traditional song from Selene, one that spoke of hope, love, and the beauty of new beginnings. The evening of the solstice celebration arrived, and the community center was alive with laughter and the scent of delicious food. Mira felt a flutter of nerves as she prepared to perform. She had spent hours rehearsing, yet standing in front of a crowd still made her palms sweaty. As the talent show commenced, she watched other performers with admiration. A local girl sang beautifully, a couple danced gracefully, and a group of children showcased a delightful skit. Finally, it was her turn. As she walked onto the stage, her heart raced. The lights shone brightly, casting a warm glow over the audience. Mira took a deep breath, reminding herself of all the people who had shown her kindness and acceptance. She was not just a refugee, she was part of this community, and it was time to share a piece of herself with them. The music began, and she let the melody wash over her, allowing it to carry her away. As she sang, she poured her heart into every note, every word. The song spoke of the beauty of the stars, the bonds of family, and the hope of new beginnings. It was a song of her past, but it was also a bridge to her future. To her surprise, the audience listened intently, their faces reflecting curiosity and warmth. Mira felt a connection form in the room, and with each verse, she found her confidence growing. When she finished, a wave of applause erupted, filling her with a profound sense of relief and joy. Tears of gratitude welled in her eyes as she took a bow, feeling embraced by the love of the community. After the performance, people approached her with genuine enthusiasm. "That was beautiful," Sarah exclaimed, wrapping her arms around Mara. "You have such a gift." Michael beamed with pride. "I knew you could do it. You were incredible." Mara felt a sense of belonging wash over her, the fears that had clouded her heart beginning to dissipate. This community had embraced her, and now she was more than just a refugee. She was an active participant in their lives. However, as the days went by, Mara's happiness was tempered by a growing concern. Rumors began to circulate in the town about unusual sightings near the forest where they had landed. Some claimed to have seen strange lights and shadows moving among the trees at night. Whispers of government agents searching for refugees and alien visitors began to spread, igniting fear and uncertainty among the townsfolk. One afternoon, as Mara walked home from the community center, she overheard a conversation between two men discussing the sightings. "I tell you, it's not just the snow playing tricks," one said. "There are stories of aliens lurking about. We can't be too careful." Mara's heart raced as she hurried away, panic rising within her. What if someone discovered her true identity? What if they realized she was one of those aliens? Her mind spiraled with worry. She had fought so hard to create a new life for herself and Mary, and the thought of losing it terrified her. That night, Mara sat by the fireplace, her mind racing. Murray played quietly in the corner, blissfully unaware of the turmoil brewing outside. Michael visited, noticing her unease. "You look worried," he said, sitting beside her. Mara sighed, glancing at Mary before turning her attention to Michael. "There are rumors about sightings in the forest, Michael. What if someone finds out who we are?" Michael's expression grew serious. "I understand your concern, but you must remember that most people here have welcomed you with open arms. They see you as part of this community." "But what if that changes?" Mara replied, her voice trembling. "What if someone decides to turn against us? We can't go back to that life, Michael. I can't let anything happen to Mary." Michael reached out, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure this out together. I won't let anything happen to you or Mary. We'll stay vigilant and keep a low profile until things settle down." Over the next few weeks, Mara and Michael worked together to keep a watchful eye on the community. They attended meetings to discuss the strange occurrences, where townsfolk expressed their fears and uncertainties. Mara participated as best she could, using her experiences to offer insights about resilience and unity in the face of adversity. As winter progressed, Mara's resolve to protect her daughter deepened. She began teaching Mary the songs and stories of their home planet, sharing fragments of her culture, while also instilling in her a sense of strength and courage. In the evenings, they would sit together by the fireplace, and Mara would sing the songs of Celine, reminding both of them that even in the darkest times, hope could shine through. One evening, as they curled up together under a warm blanket, Mary looked up at her mother with wide eyes. "Mama, are we going to be okay?" Mara felt a pang in her chest, but she forced a smile. "Of course, my sweet star. We are strong and we have each other. No matter what happens, we will always find a way." Mary nodded, snuggling closer, reassured by her mother's words. Mara kissed her forehead, silently vowing to protect her daughter at all costs. As the winter solstice approached once again, the town planned another festival to celebrate the new year. This time, Mara's participation took on a different meaning. She had gained the trust and love of the community, but she was also aware of the underlying tensions. She would use this opportunity to reinforce her place in the community while keeping her identity a secret. The festival day dawned bright and clear, a perfect contrast to the fears that had haunted Mara's heart. The community center was adorned with colorful decorations, and laughter echoed in the air as families gathered to celebrate. Mara felt a surge of determination. She would not let fear control her life. As the evening unfolded, Mara found herself dancing and sharing stories, her laughter mingling with that of her neighbors. The warmth of the community enveloped her, and for a brief moment she felt free, as if the shadows of her past could not touch her. But as the night progressed, the tension returned when she noticed a group of men huddled together, their expressions dark and serious. Mira felt her heart race as she caught snippets of their conversation, phrases like government patrols and suspicious activity sending chills down her spine. Michael, sensing her distress, approached her, concern etched on his face. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice low. "No," Mira admitted, glancing toward the group of men. "I'm scared, Michael. What if they're talking about us?" Michael followed her gaze, his expression hardening. "We need to stay alert. Let's keep an eye on them and be ready to protect Miri if it comes to that." As the festival continued around them, Mira forced herself to focus on the joy of the evening. She danced with the children, played games, and even shared her culinary creations from Celine, enjoying the delight on everyone's faces as they tasted her dishes. But her heart was heavy with worry, and every laugh felt tinged with uncertainty. As midnight approached, the townspeople gathered outside to watch the fireworks. Mira held Miri close, her daughter's excitement infectious. The sky exploded with color, illuminating the darkness, but Mira felt a flicker of fear within her. Suddenly, a loud shout broke through the celebration. "There's something in the trees," one of the men from earlier exclaimed, pointing into the shadows of the forest. Mira's heart dropped as she felt the crowd's energy shift from joy to panic. The laughter faded, replaced by gasps and murmurs of fear. The atmosphere turned tense, and Mira's instinct to protect Miri kicked in. "Stay close to me," Mira instructed, wrapping her arms tightly around her daughter as the crowd began to stir. The festive atmosphere crumbled, and the townsfolk began to retreat toward the community center, their faces a mix of confusion and concern. "What is happening?" Miri asked, her voice trembling. Mira squeezed her daughter reassuringly. "It's okay, sweetheart. Just stay with me." Michael stepped closer, his brow furrowed. "We need to get you two inside. It's not safe out here." As they hurried toward the community center, Mira's mind raced. Had they finally been discovered? Would this be the end of their fragile new life? She couldn't let that happen, not when they had come so far and fought so hard to find a place where they could belong. Inside the center, the mood was frantic as people gathered, discussing the strange occurrences. Mira stood protectively over Miri, her heart pounding as she listened to the hushed whispers and anxious questions. "What do they see?" someone asked. "Do we need to call the authorities?" Mira's throat tightened at the thought. "We can't let them find out about us," she murmured to Michael, her voice strained. "Stay calm," he urged, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure this out together. We're not alone." As the night wore on, Mira felt the weight of the world resting on her shoulders. The fear of being discovered loomed large, but she held on to the hope that they could weather this storm. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. With each moment, she drew strength from the love she had for Miri and the bonds she had formed within the community. No matter the outcome, Mira knew one thing for certain: she would fight to protect her daughter and the life they had begun to build, for as long as it took. The dawn of a new year was upon them, and with it came the promise of resilience and hope. The shadows of fear. The first light of dawn crept into the community center, washing over the chaos that had unfolded the night before. Mira sat at the edge of the table, her head in her hands, the weight of uncertainty heavy on her heart. Miri slept soundly in her arms, blissfully unaware of the panic that had gripped their newfound home. The colorful decorations from the solstice celebration now felt like a cruel reminder of the joy that had been abruptly shattered. The events of the previous night played on a loop in Mira's mind. The men's urgent voices, the frantic energy of the crowd, and the dark shadows in the trees had all combined into a storm of anxiety. Had they truly seen something? Were they truly in danger? As the sun rose higher, casting warm rays into the community center, Mira felt the warmth seep into her bones, but it did little to quell the turmoil within. Michael was the first to stir, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. He caught sight of Mira and Miri and hurried over, concern etched on his face. "How are you holding up?" he asked softly, taking a seat beside her. Mira looked up, her heart aching at the sight of his friendly face. "I don't know, Michael. I'm scared. What if they discover us? What if they start looking for aliens in the woods?" Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We'll face it together, Mira, I promise. But we need to keep our heads down for now. If they're truly worried about sightings, it might just be a misunderstanding. Or it could be the beginning of something worse," Mira replied, her voice shaking. "This community has been so welcoming, but what if that changes?" He nodded, understanding the depth of her fears. "Let's focus on what we can do. We'll stay alert and keep a low profile. You and Murray can stay with me for a while until this all blows over. I have a spare room, and you'll be safer there." Mira felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. Michael's support was a lifeline in these turbulent times. "Thank you, but what about the others? I can't just leave them." Michael leaned closer, his voice steady. "They'll understand. Right now, your safety is the most important thing. I'll talk to some of the community members and see if we can figure out what's going on. We'll keep this under wraps." As they spoke, the community began to wake up, the lingering tension palpable in the air. Mira and Michael joined the others as they shared their concerns and frustrations. Rumors flew, each person adding their fears to the mix, and Mira felt her own apprehension multiply as she listened. "I heard there were strange lights last night," one woman exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. "What if they come for us?" Another voice chimed in, "We need to keep our families safe. I think we should start a watch at night, just to be cautious." Mira exchanged worried glances with Michael, both recognizing that fear was spreading like wildfire. It wasn't long before the conversation turned toward the government. "We can't let them in on our lives," a man declared, his tone fierce. "We need to protect our town from any outside influence." Mira felt the blood drain from her face. Their small town had always felt like a haven, but now it was becoming a pressure cooker of fear and uncertainty. She had hoped to build a life here, to create a sense of belonging for herself and Mary, but now those dreams felt threatened by the very people who had welcomed her. As the day wore on, Mira took Mary and retreated to the spare room at Michael's house. It was a simple space with soft lighting and a warm bed, but Mira's heart felt heavy. She placed Mary down for a nap, brushing her daughter's hair back gently as she watched her sleep. In that moment, Mira felt a fierce resolve solidify within her. She could not allow fear to take root in their lives. Later that afternoon, as Mary continued to rest, Mira decided to take matters into her own hands. She had to find out what was happening in the town, to get to the bottom of the rumors swirling around. After all, knowledge was power. Stepping outside, she made her way toward the center of town, where a small gathering was taking place. A crowd had formed in front of the town hall, where a local leader stood addressing the concerned townspeople. Mira edged closer, straining to hear. "We need to remain vigilant," the leader said, her voice strong and commanding. "If there are threats to our safety, we will protect our families. I will not let fear dictate our actions. We will not be pushed around." Mira's heart raced. It was clear that the atmosphere had shifted, and the town was on high alert. As she listened to the concerns of the townspeople, she realized that they were searching for something to blame, something to rally against. She understood their fears, but also saw the danger in allowing that fear to take hold. Determined to do her part, Mira raised her hand, calling for attention. "Excuse me," she said, her voice rising above the murmurs. The crowd turned to her, surprise written on their faces. "I know things are tense right now," she began, her heart pounding in her chest, "but we can't let fear divide us. We need to stand together, to protect each other, and to find a way to move forward." The leader regarded her with a mixture of confusion and curiosity. "And what would you suggest?" Mira took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words. "Let's organize a community meeting where we can discuss these sightings openly. If there's something out there, we should confront it together, not let fear dictate our actions." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Mira felt a surge of hope. Maybe this was a step toward unity, a way to bring the community back together. The leader nodded slowly. That's a good idea. We can't let fear rule our lives. Let's plan a meeting for tomorrow evening. Thank you for your bravery. With that, the crowd began to disperse, and Mira felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. She had taken a stand, and perhaps that would help to shift the tide of fear that had gripped the town. When she returned to Michael's house, she found Mary awake and playing with some toys. Her daughter's laughter filled the room, and Mira felt a spark of joy in her heart. She scooped Mary up, twirling her around, laughter echoing between them. Guess what? We're going to have a meeting tomorrow. Everyone will talk about the sightings, and I think we can help each other. Murray's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Can I go, Mama? Mira nodded, feeling the warmth of her daughter's spirit. Of course, sweetheart. We're in this together. That night, as they settled down for bed, Mira tapped Mary in, her heart filled with hope and determination. They were not just refugees. They were part of a community that was willing to fight for its safety and unity. As sleep began to take hold, Mira couldn't shake the feeling that the coming days would be pivotal. She had ignited a spark, and with it came the responsibility to fan the flames of courage within the community. The following evening, the community hall was buzzing with anticipation. Mira arrived early, nervous but determined. She had prepared herself to share her thoughts and experiences, to advocate for unity among the townspeople. Michael arrived soon after, giving her an encouraging nod that bolstered her resolve. As the hall filled with people, the atmosphere shifted from anxiety to a sense of camaraderie. Mira noticed familiar faces, neighbors, children, friends, all coming together to face the unknown. The leader opened the meeting, laying out the concerns about the sightings and encouraging open dialogue. Mira waited patiently, her heart racing as she listened to the concerns voiced by the townspeople. We need to take action, someone said, their voice filled with urgency. We can't just sit here and wait for something to happen. Maybe we should form a patrol, suggested another. We can keep watch at night. As the discussion unfolded, Mira felt her opportunity approach. When the floor was open for suggestions, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite the nerves fluttering in her stomach. Can I share something? She asked, and the room fell silent. As she spoke, Mira poured her heart into her words. I understand the fear we're all feeling. I too have faced fear in my life. But we must remember that we are stronger together. Let's not jump to conclusions or let paranoia divide us. Instead, let's use this as an opportunity to bond, to learn from one another. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Mira felt a rush of hope. She continued, I suggest we form a community watch, not out of fear, but out of a desire to protect and support each other. If we work together, we can find a way to ensure everyone's safety without succumbing to panic. The leader nodded, impressed by Mira's insight. That's a solid plan. We can implement a rotation for those willing to keep watch at night, while also holding regular meetings to share any concerns or sightings. The crowd began to buzz with enthusiasm, a renewed sense of purpose filling the room. Mira felt tears prick at her eyes as she realized they were coming together, not as strangers, but as a united front. The meeting concluded with a sense of optimism. Mira left the hall with Mary by her side, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. They walked home together, the night air cool but invigorating. Mama, you were really brave, Mary exclaimed, her eyes wide with admiration. Mira chuckled softly, brushing her daughter's hair back. We're all brave, my love. We just have to believe in ourselves and in each other. As they approached Michael's house, Mira's heart swelled with gratitude. They had found a way to confront their fears and forge a stronger community. With each passing day, they were building a life, a future, and it was worth fighting for. Little did Mira know, however, that the shadows of fear were not yet behind them. As they settled in for the night, A dark figure watched from the edge of the forest, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike.